The world believed Ethan Graves was dead, and for a while he let them. In the months since he disappeared, he had mastered the art of being a ghost. No credit cards, no phones, no patterns. He drifted between cities, staying off the grid, moving like a shadow through the world. But the thing about ghosts, sometimes they come back. The rain poured hard against the rusted tin roof of the safe house, an abandoned cabin tucked away in the Appalachian Mountains. Ethan sat at the worn wooden table, cleaning his sidearm by candlelight, his mind as sharp as ever. Then, the knock. 3 soft taps, a pause, then 2 more. Ethan's muscles tensed. No one should have found him. He reached for his gun, moving silently toward the door. He cracked it open, just enough to see a shadowed figure in the rain, hood up, head low. Then the voice, shaky, desperate. "You need to hear this," the man rasped. "Mercer was just a puppet. There's someone else pulling the strings." Ethan's grip tightened on the doorframe. "Who?" the man exhaled. "A name you already know." The word sent a chill through Ethan's blood. He thought the fight was over. He was wrong. Inside, the informant trembled as he pulled a flash drive from his pocket, setting it on the table between them. Ethan watched him carefully. "Why come to me?" The man swallowed hard. "Because you're the only one who can stop him." Ethan stared at the flash drive. He had sworn to walk away from this fight, to let the syndicate burn itself down. But now, there was unfinished business. The world thought Ethan Graves was dead. Time to remind them he wasn't. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more awesome content. And while you're at it, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. All right, let's keep going. The flash drive sat on the table, its small metallic shape holding the answer Ethan Graves had been running from. For months, he had believed Mercer was the mastermind, the one pulling the strings behind the syndicate's empire of corruption. He had fought, bled, and killed to bring him down. But Mercer's last words echoed in his mind. "You didn't stop us. You only delayed the inevitable." Ethan plugged the drive into a secured laptop. A single encrypted file blinked on the screen. He bypassed the first few layers easily, but then he saw it. A name. A very familiar name. Director Nathaniel Kane. Ethan's breath stilled. Kane wasn't just inside the intelligence community. He was the intelligence community, director of covert operations. A man who didn't exist on paper but controlled black-budget projects across the globe. If Mercer had been the syndicate's enforcer, Kane was its architect. Ethan's fingers tightened into fists. The real enemy had never been a criminal empire. It had been the government itself. The files went back decades. High-level black ops. Missions, assassinations, deep-cover projects that didn't officially exist. And right there, buried among the classified reports, Ethan's own name. His pulse hammered as he scrolled through pages of intelligence reports detailing missions he had been sent on, missions he had never questioned. Suddenly, everything clicked. The syndicate hadn't been using corrupt agencies. They were the agencies. Mercer had been right. Ethan had spent his entire life thinking he was fighting the bad guys, but all along, he had been working for them. A slow exhale left his lips. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. This was about finding the truth and burning it all down. Ethan ejected the drive, shoved it into his pocket, and picked up his gun. There was only one way to confirm what he already knew. He had to find Kane, and when he did, he wasn't leaving without answers. Ethan Graves moved like a shadow through the rain-soaked streets of Washington, D.C. The city pulsed with quiet danger. Government, buildings, federal agencies, and men in suits who controlled the world without ever making the news. At the center of it all, Director Nathaniel Kane, the man who had built the syndicate from the inside, weaponizing intelligence agencies, war zones, and black-budget operations to create an empire beyond borders. And tonight, Ethan was going to put a bullet in him. Kane's private estate sat on the edge of the Potomac River, an architectural fortress of steel and glass, guarded by men who didn't wear badges. Just the kind of killers who never missed. Ethan had spent weeks tracking Kane's movements, studying the security rotations, hacking encrypted comms to listen in on schedules. Everything told him tonight was the night. Kane would be alone in his study, a single bodyguard posted outside. Too easy. Ethan knew better than to trust easy, but He was out of time. This was his only shot. Moving through the outer perimeter was simple. He neutralized the first two guards with silent efficiency. A chokehold, a knife. Bodies dragged into the dark. He reached the side entrance, bypassing the security lock, stepping into the silent corridors of Kane's home. Everything was too quiet, too clean. He moved toward the study, his gun steady, his heartbeat slow. The door was cracked open. A desk. Lamp flickered inside. A figure sat in the high-backed chair facing the fireplace. Ethan tightened his grip. He stepped inside. The chair spun, and Nathaniel Kane smiled. "Took you long enough." The moment Ethan heard the voice, he knew. The click of a dozen safeties being released, the shifting of figures in the shadows, a slow sinking feeling in his gut. Kane wasn't alone. He was never alone. They had been waiting for him. Ethan exhaled, rolling his shoulders. "You knew I was coming." Kane smirked, swirling a glass of bourbon in his hand. "Of course we did." The doors slammed shut behind him. He was surrounded. But Kane wasn't ordering his men to fire. Not yet, because this wasn't just a trap. It was an invitation. Ethan Graves had spent his life chasing criminals. Now, he was the most hunted man on the planet. The news hit within hours. Every major network, every government agency, every intelligence unit across the world. A global kill order. The CIA has confirmed that former U.S. Marshal Ethan Graves is a rogue operative linked to international crime syndicates. A joint task force, including Interpol and multiple foreign intelligence agencies, has been deployed to neutralize him. Citizens are advised to report any sightings immediately. The anchor's voice was calm, matter of fact, like they were talking about the weather, not sending the world's deadliest agents after him. Ethan watched the screen from a dimly lit safe house in Paris, jaw clenched. The syndicate had flipped the script. They weren't just covering their tracks. They were rewriting history. His face was everywhere: airports, border crossings. A fabricated Interpol red notice labeled him a high-risk fugitive responsible for assassinations and political destabilization. The world believed he was a monster, and that's when Ethan realized the truth. This wasn't just about killing him. It was about erasing him. Ethan had spent years off the grid, but even ghosts left traces. Within 24 hours, his aliases were flagged. Within 48, his offshore accounts were frozen. By day 3, the net was closing. Paris was no longer safe. Neither was Europe. He had nowhere left to run, but running wasn't the plan. Not anymore. Ethan leaned back against the cold brick wall of his safe house, staring at the map spread across the table. Every move he made was being tracked. Every connection burned. He had one option left: disappear for good. But if he did that, the syndicate won. He exhaled slowly, fingers tapping against the worn edge of his knife. They wanted him dead, or worse, forgotten. That meant they were afraid. That meant they had something to lose. Ethan wasn't running anymore. He was going to make them pay. The syndicate had spent years controlling the world through secrets. Ethan Graves was about to burn it all down. From a cramped hideout in Istanbul, Ethan sat before an untraceable laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. The world thought he was a fugitive, a traitor, a killer. Fine. Let them think that. He uploaded the first file, one of dozens, to a dark web server. The truth about the syndicate's offshore accounts, the judges and politicians they controlled, the intelligence assets who weren't working for their governments, but for Kane. Within minutes, the data began to spread. Leaks, whispers, panic. He sat back, watching the chaos unfold in real time. The syndicate had spent years hiding in the shadows. Now he was dragging them into the light, and there was only one way they'd respond. They'd come for him. That's exactly what Ethan wanted. Hours later, an encrypted message flashed across the screen. "You made your move. Now let's talk. A location. A meeting." Kane had taken the bait. Ethan's jaw tightened. This was it. The real mastermind wasn't hiding anymore. And now, Ethan was walking straight into the fire. He packed up, grabbed his gun, and stepped into the cold night. That's when he felt it. Someone watching him. A shadow moved in the alley. Ethan spun, gun drawn. Jessica Hale stepped into the dim light. Alive. Here. His grip on the trigger didn't waver. "You shouldn't be here." Jessica held up her hands, calm. Neither. Should you? A long pause. You set me up once before, Ethan said coldly. Why the hell should I trust you now? Jessica exhaled. Didn't blink. Because Ethan, she stepped closer, voice low. If you go to that meeting alone, you're already dead. The storm raged over the abandoned airfield, rain slashing through the night as Ethan Graves stepped onto the cracked tarmac. Ahead, the meeting point. A private jet, its engines humming, waiting to take someone far away from the chaos Ethan had unleashed. This wasn't just a meeting. It was an execution. Ethan adjusted his grip on his silenced pistol, his mind sharp despite the exhaustion weighing on his body. Tonight, it ended. One way or another, the first bullet tore through the rain. Ethan moved fast, rolling behind a stack of abandoned cargo containers as 3 black-clad operatives emerged from the shadows. Syndicate elites. No hesitation. No wasted movement. Killers. Ethan. Fired. 2 shots. 2 bodies down. The third came from behind, a knife flashing. Ethan barely twisted in time, the blade grazing his ribs as he drove his elbow into the assassin's throat. A sharp crack. A body falling lifeless. The airfield was silent again, except for the waiting jet. The real target was still inside. Ethan moved forward. He climbed the jet's narrow stairs, gun raised. The cabin lights flickered as he stepped inside. A lone figure sat at the end of the aisle, legs crossed, sipping whiskey. Nathaniel Kane. But something was wrong. Ethan's gut twisted. Too easy. Kane turned slowly, meeting Ethan's gaze with calm amusement. Did you really think it would be that simple? Kane smirked. That I was the one running this? Ethan's grip tightened. If you're not in charge, Kane set his glass down. The door behind him opened, and Ethan's world shifted. Because the real leader was Jessica, she stepped forward, dressed in black, eyes sharp. Not the hunted, not the ally. The one in control. Ethan's pulse pounded. Tell me this isn't what it looks like. Jessica sighed. It was always me, Ethan. A pause. You were never fighting the syndicate. She tilted her head. You were being recruited. Silence. The weight of it all settled in. Jessica stepped closer, lowering her voice. You have a choice, she said. Kill me, or take your place at my side. Ethan's breath came slow. His gun didn't waver, but his world, it was never the same again. The jet's cabin felt smaller now. Quieter. Jessica stood in front of him, calm, unshaken, the real leader of the syndicate. Ethan Graves had fought through mercenaries, assassins and warlords. He had been hunted, betrayed, and framed. But this was the final move. A long silence stretched between them. You always thought you were stopping us, Jessica said, tilting her head. But, Ethan, you were part of this from the beginning. Ethan's jaw clenched. Jessica sighed, almost disappointed. If you kill me, the syndicate triggers the failsafe. Every piece of evidence you exposed, gone. Every secret, every leak, erased. His grip tightened around the gun. Or? He asked. She smiled. Or you step aside, and the world keeps turning. Kane shifted in his seat, watching like a man who already knew the ending. And that's when Ethan realized. This was the test. Everything he had done, every choice, every betrayal, every fight, all leading to this moment. A gun in his hand, a target in front of him, a decision that would decide who he really was. The moment stretched. Then, Jessica moved. Ethan fired first. Jessica dropped, rolling as the bullet shattered the seat where she had stood. Kane flipped the table, diving for cover. Gunfire erupted inside the cabin. Ethan moved fast, dodging between seats as syndicate operatives stormed through the jet's entrance. He took out the first, spun, fired twice. Clean shots. Jessica came. Up from the floor, gun raised, aimed right at his heart. Their eyes met. And that's when Caleb stepped into the doorway. Alive. Gun drawn. Ethan's stomach twisted. You've got to be kidding me. Caleb smirked. Told you it would end like this. Jessica didn't flinch. Shoot him. Caleb raised his weapon, and Ethan moved first. The gunshot was deafening. Then another. Then silence. Outside, on the tarmac, syndicate forces swarmed the jet, waiting for an outcome only one person would walk away from. Inside, the smoke cleared, and Ethan Graves stepped forward, bloodied, breathing, but still standing. Behind him, the past lay dead. The world believed they had witnessed a syndicate war. But the truth died with them. The world had changed. Or maybe it hadn't. Maybe Ethan Graves had just finally seen it for what it was. The syndicate was dead. At least, the one that had hunted him, betrayed him, and tried to turn him into something he wasn't. Jessica, Kane, Mercer, all of them, gone. The jet's cabin still smelled of gunpowder, the metallic scent of blood hanging thick in the air. Ethan stood over the wreckage, his gun still warm in his hand. Outside, the sun was beginning to rise, casting a golden glow over the empty airfield. The world kept moving, completely unaware of the war that had just been fought in the shadows. A war that Ethan had won. But at what cost? He limped down the jet steps, his body aching from the fight, blood seeping from wounds he hadn't even felt until now. No sirens, no helicopters, no official reports. The syndicate had spent years covering their tracks. Now Ethan had done the same. There would be no records of what happened here. No headlines, no medals. Jessica Hale, the woman he once trusted, the woman who had played him better than anyone, was dead. So was Caleb. So was Kane. Their empire had burned with them. Ethan had made sure of it, but the world wouldn't remember. Because Ethan Graves? He didn't exist anymore. He left the airfield before the cleanup crew arrived, the ones who operated in silence, erasing the last traces of men like him. By the time the sun had fully risen, there would be nothing left. Not the bodies, not the jet, not Ethan Graves. He ditched his gun in a river 2 miles out, burned his last fake passport, destroyed his final safe house. He had spent years chasing the truth. Now he was burying it, and himself along with it. Weeks passed, maybe months. Ethan didn't keep track. A new name, a new life, a new country, no trails, no attachments, just silence. Until the message arrived. A plain envelope, no return address, no stamps. Inside, a single sheet of paper. A list of names, names he recognized. Powerful men, women, politicians, generals. People who shouldn't exist, but did. At the bottom, the last name, Ethan Graves. A slow exhale. He had won, but the game wasn't over. Not even close. Ethan stared at the paper, then smiled. Just a little, because some wars never really end. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the next part, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. To stay updated, see you in the next one. Your support means the world.